Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy February. My name is Tanis McRae, and you're listening to Talking to Tanis, Evolve on Purpose, or Person, on Transformation Talk Radio. So I don't know if I said this last time, but one of the big intentions of my radio show is to highlight the systems, the processes, the road, the journey I took in my own self-awareness journey. And in my last show in January, I had an amazing conscious conversation, or a conversation about consciousness, with astrologer Deborah Silverman. And we used the system of astrology to talk about how to access that awareness, to access that consciousness, to bring those knowings that are sort of already sitting there just waiting for you to discover them to your awareness, and also to bring you to it, because lots of times we get conditioned. We're humans, that happens. You don't know what a cup's for till someone shows you what's a cup for, and that's conditioning. But we also get ideas and beliefs and whatnot that eventually do not serve our highest good. They don't serve our awareness, and we often get defined by our experiences, rather than what I say is needed is a refinement. And it's about really going back in, taking control of your own self-awareness journey. Who am I in it? Who am I? I'm the experiencer of my life. I might as well be in charge of that. And so the next system that came to me, and I like to take systems and I like to just like suck all the juice out of them. So I usually dedicate quite a length of time to a particular system, just to really allow it to open me up and to give me what I need in my self-awareness journey. And my friend Leann and I started this human design journey together. We found it almost simultaneously at exactly the same time. And so it's been really great having this system buddy with me, and where we can have chats and talks, and we can talk human design and really dig down deep into how can this assist us in our self-awareness journey, in our consciousness, in our expansion. So Leann, welcome to Talking to Tanis. I'm so excited to have you here. And
Me too.
And yeah, again, a great conversation with a friend.
Yes. It'll just be like sitting in your living room having a chat. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, human design found us just over 7 years ago. And what I love the most is how you say that it really is that awareness piece. Basically, what the system will do is allow you to get out of your own way. It allows you to get out of your own way. Don't take heed to that conditioning and that nasty chatting in the mind, and allow it to, life to unfold for you. As you allow for your frequency to interact with others.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think often we don't realize how not present we are because of that chatter in the mind, because there's always that kind of constant conversation. But it's not going very deep, right?
Yep.
That inner conversation's not going very deep, really.
Right. Yep.
It's kind of like looping, correct?
That's right. Really, it's probably the voice of a parent or a teacher or someone who thought they were assisting your growth. And at the time, they were using the intention they had, and it dropped into you. And then that little, tape keeps playing, that conditioning piece keeps playing. And no, it's not very deep. And the moment that you know this, as you have your clients and you work with this one-on-one, when we can get out of our own way and let the beauty of the mind do its job and connect to our higher self, it's quiet, it's not mean, it just allows us to be settled in our own skin. right?
Yes, yes. I love the word mean. I mean, I really do love the word mean because I found in, the 10, 15 years I've been taking clients, that's inner voice is mean.
It's mean.
There's not often, I mean, until you take the focus and you decide, okay, I'm going to go
Yeah.
into some positive. But until you actually make that conscious decision,
Mm-hmm.
you are hearing meanness. You're hearing meanness.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I think that's really important. First of all, just to come to the realization, it doesn't need to be a judgment about it or feel bad
Mm-mm.
about it.
Mm-mm.
It's the first and most beautiful awareness. Wow,
Yes.
the voice inside my head's kind of mean.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we know that energy attracts like energy. So if that
Mm-hmm.
voice inside my head is mean, that means the voices that are coming to me from the
Yeah.
outside are going to match that to a certain extent.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yep.
exactly. So,
Yep.
I mean, yeah. And so when you found this human design, what sort of put the fire under you? Like, what about it really was like, hey, this is yummy. This is juicy.
I recognized me in it.
Yes.
I recognized it and I'm like, there it is. There's all the languaging I've been looking for. For many, many years of my life, I had just allowed for my body to move me in places. And I had friends question me. I had family question me. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't have any, I don't know. I can't give you an answer. I just know that my physical body's moving me. And of course, I always said, oh, I just use my intuition. Now I have different languaging for it and I can trust that frequency. And I saw myself and I went, okay, there's my permission. I don't have to be sorry about it. I don't have to say, oh, I don't have to play.
Yeah.
I don't have to play small in it. I
Right.
can let the power of it flow through me, present itself, and those that need it will interact with it.
Right. Right.
And those that can't take it in the moment
Right.
will find another teacher, will find another mentor, they will find another friend, they will find another coworker,
Yeah.
they will find someone else. So
Or they'll find another system, right? They'll
right.
find something that works for them. I
Yep.
know for my own personal experience around this, I was actually given a reading in 2008, and it
Mm.
was so I was not in alignment with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I found it in 2012, 4 years later, it just like you, it was
Mm-hmm.
like a light bulb went on.
Mm-hmm.
But 2008, that light bulb didn't go on.
No.
I found my chart and stuff later
Mm-hmm.
after I started looking through my things. I'm like, what? What?
Mm-hmm.
How did I miss this chance 4 years ago? But I wasn't in alignment with the
Mm-hmm.
experience yet. And that's really important. I think people need to understand that there is timing. That timing,
Totally.
the flower blooms when the flower blooms. If it blooms
Yep.
in the middle of January, that's a short-lived flower.
Yep.
Where if it
Yep.
blooms in the middle of June, it can do its whole process, right? It can go
Yep.
right to seed. And
Yeah.
so that's what I think is so beautiful, is to honor in ourselves the timing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so isn't
Mm-hmm.
it beautiful that maybe this particular radio show, this particular experience, where the things we're talking about here, they're going to bring us to that bring somebody to that moment
Mm-hmm.
of wow,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I get this. This has to do with my consciousness. It's not just a divination system in the sense that
Nope.
it's telling me what's going to
Mm-mm.
happen.
Mm-mm.
It's
It's
more
not doing
telling.
that at all, actually.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Which is, I know, what a lot of people are looking for. They're looking for
Right.
that safety and that security in a system. And I think there
Mm-hmm.
is safety and security in a system because
Mm-hmm.
it gives you some structure
That's right.
to hold you in while you're
Yes.
walking through it. And that's what I found with human
Mm-hmm.
design was
Yes.
it gives you so much information
Yes.
because
Yep.
it wasn't right. It wasn't meant to. And we just have a couple minutes before break, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just in a nutshell, just give me a sense of and give everyone a sense of what did human design actually be born as? Like, it was born a science of differentiation, they say.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep, it definitely is. And basically, the whole foundation of the system is about decisions.
Right.
Because once we can get out of our heads,
Mm-hmm.
once we can get out of that clutter and that nasty chatter and that indecisive pong game, as I call it, going back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, the decisions that we're making through the physical body can allow for us to then have a clear vision of our life.
Yes.
And there doesn't have to be second guessing. So the whole foundation is decisions, and the end result is differentiation.
Right. Which is like individuation, right? Where
Total.
you get
Yep.
to be you, where
Yep.
it's leading you constantly to you.
Yeah.
And the decision making thing is really important, because I think that's why people want to know the future, because they're in decision making process.
That's right. And we're fearful of the unknown.
Right.
You know, when we come back from break, maybe I'll touch a little bit on the whole timing piece, so that people can understand that whole cellular process.
Right.
So, we don't have to no longer fear the unknown.
Right. Which, of course, we know that that hits at a very deep level. The fear of the unknown is hitting at our sense of safety and our sense of security.
Right.
And so we feel like if we can make a good decision, we're actually placing ourselves in the optimal space for safety and security. And most people are looking. I mean, I'm going to go out there and say over 90% of the people in the world are, why they want to know what's happening next. It's for a sense of safety and a sense of security.
Right.
And so that's why the decision making process is key.
Totally key.
And then knowing
key.
And knowing that your decision making process is different than someone else's.
That's right.
That's right.
Totally unique.
I think this will be such an incredible, amazing thing for us to grab onto when we go. So you're listening here to Tanis McCrae with Leann Wolf, the conveyor of a human design system. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to explore more about that decision-making process specifically for people. And so go grab a glass of water and come on back. Hello, welcome back. We're back on Talking with Tanis with me, Tanis McCrae, and a very special guest of mine, a good friend and amazing conveyor of the human design system, Leann Wolf. Welcome back, Leann.
Thank you, Tanis. So awesome to be here and have this conversation. Yeah. So before we left on break, one thing I just wanted to chat about was when you were talking about timing. And how, human design will find us. And, sometimes it's the right timing and sometimes it's not. And what I have found is if our cells, because this really is a cellular process, if the cellular structure of our physical body isn't ready for the information, it's like it just kind of waits there. It waits there, right? Until we're ready and our cells have had time to open up to the new information. So I know that you've been on this spiritual journey for many years.
Yes.
So who knows where you were at that time? And maybe there was a different modality that you were, so it just kind of said, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
When you're ready, I'll be available for you. So that's what I love about the system, is that it vibrates very high. There's a large frequency to it, and when our cells are ready, it just drops in at the perfect timing. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. And let's talk about the decision making process, because I think if we can give somebody something to really grab onto in this show and run with, that I think that's a beautiful place to start.
I believe that as well. So the transformation piece that happens through the human design system really, really steps into your life at a very, very basic, intrinsic, and foundational place. And that's decisions. Because we're all here making decisions day in and day out. And the new buzz language is decision fatigue. Well, what human design does is it allows us to use a strategy and an inner authority to make those decisions. So let me just, chat about this a little bit so that the listeners can understand it. And anybody that's able to see the screen can see that I'm sharing Tanis, her human design, and I will also look at mine. So there is a type, and that type has an energetic around it. There's this auric field that's working. And there's 4 different types in human design. Even though we're asking you to be unique and to differentiate, we're putting you in 4 little boxes. But inside those 4 little boxes, there is a plethora of, uniqueness within there. So those types have this energetic or auric field that is around the human meat suit. Now, each one of those electronic fields has a strategy. How are we actually best built to interact with one another? And the strategy then allows us to interact correctly. So we're not, pushing up against the river of life. We're allowing for the flow to happen. And the strategy for Tanis is wait for the invitation. So her type is what we call a projector or an advisor in the business acumen. And her overarching role is to be that advisor. She's here to give guidance. She's here to, open us, the rest of the world, up to our greatness through her beautiful energetic that she brings to us. Okay? And the important piece for Tanis is this wait for the invitation. She's a very powerful energetic, and that energetic actually focuses in on the other person. So this is a perfect platform for Tanis, one-on-one. She can hone in on me. She can be right here. She can interview me and pull this information out of me. So the important piece is that Tanis waits for that invitation to do so.
Yes.
So when she's interacting with me, it's important that her and I use our strategies correctly. Mm-hmm. Now, hers is wait for the invitation. I'll just share mine. Mine is wait to respond. My open and enveloping energetic field is responding to what interacts with it. So Tanis comes into my field, she can focus in on me, and I get to respond to that. I get to invite it in or not. And just because we're friends doesn't mean that the invitation's always there. And Tanis, has lots of examples about this.
Yes.
So my overarching role is to be a builder. My type is a manifesting generator. I'm here to work. And if anybody that can see the screen can see this red center here, I'm sacral driven. I'm a builder. I'm here to work. And Tanis has this awesome energetic, this projector energy that's here to guide those builders. So it's such a fun interaction when you have a manifesting generator or a generator with open and enveloping auras, and you have a projector and advisor on the other side. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The interaction can be profound for both parties. Okay. So that's the interaction piece, that auric piece. And then each one of us gets to go intrinsically inside to our inner authority. So, I invite Tanis in. She then gets to use her inner authority. Is that invitation correct? Or is it not correct? Tanis and I have a conversation. She asks me something. If the response is, it's a no. I'm not ready for your advice. If it's a, come on in, I'm ready for her advice. So it's fun to watch how these energetics can play together. And when we trust it, then the uniqueness of each design can interact in a healthy, influential way versus an unhealthy, conditioned way.
Mm-hmm. And I know, in the years since I discovered I'm a projector, and I don't wait for the invitation, and I initiate. The world doesn't fall apart. I don't die. Nobody dies. No one's hurt. No blood, no foul. But I'll tell you, it is not comfortable. It's not comfortable for the person who didn't invite me, and it's not comfortable for me who didn't yet get invited. And
Right.
that's what I tell projectors. I always say to them, I know it's hard to wait, but boy, oh boy, is it worth waiting. Because it just becomes effortless.
Yep.
Before it's effort, and afterwards it's effortless. So if you wait, it's effortless. And just be quiet and still. They'll invite you, but you must first be okay. I always say my guidance is a privilege. And I'm going to wait until somebody asks me for it, because then I know their willingness is there to accept it. So that's what I love. I love how human design docks people together. It's one of the few systems that puts people together and shows how that interactive works.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that. It docks them together. That's really what it does. Yeah. It really gives us a structure on, like, how are we best built to dock to each other, to interact, to influence and utilize one another correctly.
Right. And honoring that if you have a no, that that's not personal. That if you don't invite me, that's not personal.
Exactly.
This is a big, big deal. Is not taking it personally. You know, my assistant Rhonda was, and we'll get into emotional authority, but I knew she would not answer my texts immediately, and because she needed that time, and so I honored that. Didn't take it personally. Didn't get all drama-fied. So
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And it's the acceptance of self. And then once we can accept self, then we can totally understand that there's nothing personal going on here.
That's right. That's right.
You know, if I invite you and same thing, it's a no. It's not a personal rejection. Right. It's a redirect for you. You get to redirect to the correct invitation.
Exactly. And where I'll have the satisfaction and the success, right? You'll have the satisfaction because I will have went. And we're doing such a great conversation here. I think we'll skip our next break because I'd really like to go. The two of us represent two of those aura types. Would you like to speak to the other aura types?
Sure, I can. I should have brought up an example maybe. The other two aura types are what we call a manifester. They have a closed and repelling aura. That's not a negative in any way, shape, or form. The whole point of the manifester or innovator in our business acumen is they're here to get the ball rolling. They are the ones initiating. They are the ones opening the doors, breaking trail for the rest of us. And the visual I get is Moses. They split the sea. They allow for that pathway so that the rest of us can go through into our own creation, into our own, guidance, into our own assessment of what's happening. So we have those manifestors, and then we also have the reflectors, and we call those evaluators in the business acumen. And the evaluators they have this beautiful auric field that is, it's like Teflon. Okay. So they're just here to sample. They're just here to be in amongst and go, hey, how are we all doing here? How's this little game of life playing out? Is it correct? Is it not correct? Who's having problems? Who's struggling? So those reflectors or evaluators are really just here to assess the whole thing.
That's right.
And those two types have their auric field is designed not to really have conditioning or influencing from other humans. They do in some sense. They're really connected to the transits, to the program, to the planets, because they're here on a totally different level. My type, my manifesting generator or generator, we're here to build this Maya.
Right.
And your type, projector or advisor, you're here to guide that process. So the manifestors open the doorways. You get to stand beside the doorway and say, hey, can you work here? Can you work here? Right? You get to ask those questions. You get to guide those builders through those right doors. And then the reflector just gets to stand there and say, hey, this doorway's going well, and this one's not, right?
That's right.
So it's fun to watch how all these interaction types take place.
Exactly. Yeah. Would you like to take a call from, we have somebody on hold. Would you like to take a call and see if we've got a question from Tracy from Arizona? Welcome to Talking to Tanis.
Hi, Tracy.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
Do you have a question for us?
I have lots of questions, actually.
Oh, good. I love questions.
Yeah, so since we're on the topic of auras right now, and specifically the manifestor aura, what I've been noticing and what I'm wondering if there's more information on is when I meet manifestors, I've become pretty sensitive to be able to feel that repellingness about their aura. But I feel like there's a shift that happens once it's like a door opens, like you're saying they open a door, and then they feel a little different to me. And I don't know if there's something that can be explained in that way, or if it's just something that I'm noticing.
So thank you very much for that, Tracy. Thank you for that observation and your experience of it. And what I could say there is that if you're able to honor that manifestor and not get in their way, there's going to be a shift.
Oh yeah.
Right? The moment the rest of the world gets in their way, then all of a sudden there's that anger, right? Because they're in their little intrinsic bubble. They're sitting in there and they just want to be creative and make things happen. That's all they want. So, yourself, right? When you can honor that you don't need to get in their way, things change. Then all of a sudden they're peaceful.
Yes.
So that's what it is. Then
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that's what I'm noticing is that in you saying that it's me not getting in their way, that they're relaxing into a flow with me then.
Yep.
And resistance is more prevalent when you're pushing. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're feeling. And I have my oldest son is a manifestor, so I know of what I speak. Mm-hmm. And so when you're pushing against that their only response is to push back. Mm-hmm. But when you go soft, when you stay open, and you're like, oh well, that's okay. You can do this in your own timing, and in your own way. I'm not trying to control you. Mm-hmm. They open up, and like Leann said, then you get peace, and that's the docking. That's the docking of the two auras, and that's a beautiful thing when you're honoring that other person's aura. Specifically, because that's why I think we should all become with it tattooed on our chest or so. Oh, you're a manifesting generator. Okay, well,
yes.
I'll just help you out here. Oh, you're a projector. Well, let me invite you. Yeah. And you're a reflector. Thanks for everything. You know what I mean? It's right. I just think when you understand somebody and you have that openness and willingness to let them be who they are, you're gonna always see. The not self, as they say in the human design system, you're going to say the true self because you just allowed a space for it to happen. Right, Tracy?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm definitely noticing that. I'm like a permission slip walking around for manifestors, it feels like. I'm attracting quite a few of them because I do understand it and I do honor where they're coming from and what they're here to do. And so I do my best to help them relax into that and know that it's okay. To be who they are,
I
do have one other. I'm an MG.
Okay, excellent.
I'm a 5-1 MG.
Awesome.
So
practical solutions.
Yeah. It's good to be me. I gotta say that.
Yes.
I do have one other question, if it's okay, though.
Yes. Oh, sure. Yes.
About being a manifesting generator, because I've been playing with my strategy and authority for really diligently for about a year now. And what I'm in the subtle awarenesses of is when I am in the generator, responding, and then I step through that doorway and I'm watching the manifestor energy become more dominant is the only way I can really put it. right now, and it just things start flowing. And I do have impulses to initiate then at times. I don't, and I feel like sometimes it's right and sometimes it's a little bit off. And I'm, like I said, I'm working with those subtle energies, but the aura doesn't actually shift into a manifestor aura, right? It stays a generator aura?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And really, the initiation piece is initiating yourself. Okay? That's what that's all about. So somebody has to, you and I are both manifesting generators. Someone has to, outside of our skin, someone has to request our energy, or the universe has to request our energy. There has to be a request for this builder energy. You and I then get to respond and go into action. Now, in that action, does it look like initiation? We may initiate other people by asking them, by inviting them, but it isn't an initiation of ourselves. That's the whole point of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're still in this, you know, for, you know, interaction styles. Tanis still needs to be invited. The reflectors still have to also be asked for their assessment. We live in a world where, you know, 70% of the population need to have their energy requested upon. So we're still communicating correctly. The initiation piece is about not initiating self. The only ones that are built for that are manifestors. They can initiate self. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So initiating. Yes, thank you very much, ladies, for all that you're doing. I really, really appreciate you guys bringing this out and into the world.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
for being
Tracy.
part of it.
Yeah, and thank you for your experience of
it.
All right. Thank you. Beautiful. Thanks.
Awesome.
It was a really great questions, and thanks to Tracy for putting it out into that sort of world of questioning and letting us respond to that, right? Absolutely.
And showing, you know, not that the system needs to be proved. That's you know, but it needs to be tested and experimented with, because it's scientific based.
Right.
So there has to be, hey, here's my test ground. And, you know, here's my experience of it. So when people can share it and they can see how it actually tests out and it proves out,
right?
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, right?
I love the aspect of bringing play to it, so that you don't get so inured into the information. It becomes gospel. It becomes inflexible, right? It becomes rigid. I love the play. I love the play in her story of saying, you know, I'm feeling it, but then I sit there and then I feel the peace. Like, that is a big deal for any manifestor.
Big deal.
That's a big deal for any manifestor. That's
totally.
That's a gift right there from Tracy. Yes.
It is. It's a total gift. You know, you have a son, I have a husband that's a manifestor. And when you can give them a gift of literally just letting them be themselves.
Yeah.
Massive.
That's right. Massive.
The communication piece opens up. Like everything opens up, right?
Yeah.
Like it
and
just.
for all of them, right? Like,
yes.
So when you are able to respond, you know, that's a huge opening. When I'm invited, it's a huge opening. And when the reflectors ask to assess, right?
Yeah.
And that's just mindfulness, really. It's honoring that other person's. And
process.
I think that's where human design really shines. It shines for you to find out about you. But boy, when you use that piece to accept others for who they are and what they're showing up as, that's really powerful.
It's really powerful. That permission slip is, you know, I don't even know if there's words for it, you know, because the transformation happens right there.
Yes.
The moment you accept self and you accept that frequency and you let the God code that is sitting in your meat suit work through you, there's nothing else in the world that can shift you off of that.
Right. And you feel
Like,
seen, and you feel heard, and you
totally.
feel relevant, and you feel
Yeah.
at peace. And that's just not even just playing with your own design. That's
Mm-mm.
getting, first thing I did was get everybody's design in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yep.
I'm like, I always say if I had one do-over in this world, I would know that my son was a manifester at the
Right.
beginning of his world. And I would understand that he isn't me.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't that, of course, I only knew my own
Right. Yes. Yeah.
strategies.
Yes.
And so actually that was a huge gift to me that I
Mm-hmm.
could then be in that experience with him in a way that supported him and the way that
Yes.
supported my husband, who it was an emotional
Mm-hmm.
emotional strategy, and that I can wait. It's
Yes.
okay. I can wait till you've rode your wave. I can wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then to know our younger son is manifesting generator, and he's sacral, just like
Mm-hmm.
you. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
and a right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've touched a little bit on our decisions, and we're going to go to break soon, but let's talk a little bit about those particular
Sure.
strategies I
Sure.
just mentioned, especially
Yep.
emotional, because I think that
Yep.
one, and we'll continue it after the break, but
Sure.
let's dive in just a little bit.
Yep. And what I'll do is I'll bring up some example charts, no names, but example
Yep.
charts so that we have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a
So that'll
couple
be good.
minutes. Yeah, we have a couple minutes till break,
Yep.
so we can get started
Sure.
on one of them, whichever one you like. You can pick one.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, we can talk. We can talk about the emotional piece. So,
Mhm.
50% of the population. Here, I'll just share, and then I'll just point it out on our charts, just so
Right.
that people can see the difference. So,
Yes.
this center here, which is called the solar plexus, or the emotional intelligence that's the languaging we use in the business world. If it's colored in, so that is that would be on the right side of the page, I guess, if you printed it off, right? Yes, right
It's
side of
either
the
on the right
page.
or the left. It's gonna be on one of those.
If you print off your design, right?
Yes,
If you're looking at your
yeah.
design, it's on the right hand side, the triangle on the
Yes.
right hand side. It'll be gold. And if it's colored in, it'll say emotional authority. And these people need to have time.
Yes.
Period. They need a minimum of 24 hours. Some of them could take 3 days. Some of them could take 7 days. Some could take years to ride out that emotional wave, depending on the rest of their body graph
Mm-hmm.
as to when that cycle's gonna, come to a close for them, when they're gonna come to clarity, when they're gonna be able to step in and use that, either that invitation or that request for their energy or that initiation.
Right.
They will know through clarity and through time. And
Mhm.
emotional people, the rest of us do a disservice to them because we try to force them into spontaneity,
Right.
and the core of this is decision making, but underneath that core is the wellness of our vessel, of the
Yes.
body. And when we are in resistance, the cellular structure is breaking down. But when we are in acceptance and living out that strategy, that authority, and living out that grace and ease, the cellular structure can then repair.
Mm.
The health of the vessel can then, stand forefront.
Well, again,
Versus-
you're
Yep.
going
Go ahead.
to interrupt. So you're getting into permission again. You're saying
Yep.
it's okay for me to take time, right?
That's right. Yep.
This is so fascinating, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the other strategies, but maybe touch a little bit more on this. But yeah, we're getting to the last 15 minutes already of ours. So
I know.
I want to go into those. But thank you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. So stay tuned. Thanks for everybody for listening, and Leann and I will be right back. Hello, welcome back to Talking to Tanis with me, Tanis. And we're talking to Leann Wolf about human design. And right before the break, we got into some juicy stuff. We got into the space that sort of our decisions are driven through, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
sort
of course,
the center that it's through.
Yes.
And so we talked about the emotional center. Go ahead. Yeah. So the emotional center is where we give ourselves permission to take the time we need to make the decision, to make the response, to invite, to whatever, that you give yourself just that beautiful gift of time.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again so that people can just see an example chart. So this is an express builder, or what we would call a manifesting generator. And here you'll see anybody that can see this visually, where the emotional center lies. And that emotional center needs time. So, for example, this is an express builder that has it. So their energy needs to be requested so that they can respond. And then they need time to come to clarity. Now, if this was a projector, the invitation would come. Then they would also need to ride out their emotional wave, gain that emotional intelligence about the invitation, and then go, oh, here it is. I can now enter in because I'm recognized, or I'm not being recognized. I will not step into that invitation. And then for our manifestors, that emotional intelligence is using that time to inform all the people that, they're going to impact when they take action. So that emotional intelligence, it's such a deep center, because the awareness in there is so deep, and yet it's also powered by, a motor function, which is a wave.
Yes.
So there's both things happening. There's momentum and intelligence. So when someone has this center, like, they are powerhouses of information. And again, we do it a disservice if we're forcing them outside of their timing. Right. So that's the emotional piece. Let's pop over to an example of an ego. This is an ego projector. So it's all about that I will, and is this going to make me happy? If I enter into this invitation, is this going to make me happy? Am I going to be satisfied? Okay. And I have a husband that has willpower, or ego as his defined inner authority. And I know when he says, I will do this, I know it's going to happen.
Yes.
If he says I can, I know that it's not going to happen, because that's not his inner authority. Right. So what I love about this system is that I can totally be a people watcher, because I can watch how all this, takes place, and the languaging around it. So, just giving some examples here. Tanis is splenic, very spontaneous.
Yes.
She is going to, her spleen is going to tell her, I am healthy and I am safe. So this invitation is correct, as long as she's being recognized and noticed for what she's bringing to the table. The spleen will say, yeah, I'll be healthy in that interaction, or no, I will not be healthy in that interaction. And it'll be a no.
Yeah.
And tell me about your experience of that, Tanis. Let's talk about that.
So yeah, for me, the spleen is, by the time my mind actually figures out it's a yes or a no, it's over.
Yes.
But so that's why it's really important for me as a splenic projector to be very present. Live radio show is right up my alley, because I am staying very present. I am listening. I'm just staying in the moment, and my spleen is basically yes, 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 and then at some point it's just like no, and then you listen to the no. You listen to the no, and you're like, okay, that does not align. That's the words I use. That does not align with me at this point. And just take the Transformation Talk radio experience. I mean, I aligned with them the minute they invited me, because it was an invitation. And so I'm like, oh, this is a great alignment. It's a yes. And so but it's very in the moment. Yes. By the time you stop to think about it, it's too late. So that's why being present and in the moment is very important for me as a splenic projector.
Yes,
so
very
I can
important.
Respond immediately to the invitation if it comes. And the recognition part is key, I know, for any projector. But it's, that's something I would say that's an ongoing situation, is recognizing recognition.
Right. Yeah. And really, for your chart as an example, it's about other people recognizing that you're here to, present a judgment. Right. Because you get to see who they are. You're in there.
Yes.
So when you're invited, they're going, she is going to see me, and she's going to provide me with the judgment of my patterns.
Yes.
That's so important, because you see their patterns. You see their patterns. So when that invitation comes, if they're not seeing you as that, the spleen's going to go, no, they don't want my pattern recognition. So that's not healthy for me. So it's going to bow out of the invitation, basically.
That's right. Yes.
You know, and you're here to walk the talk. Well, what are we doing? We're talking with Tanis, right?
Yes.
You're in the transformation. You're constantly in the transformation. So when you're walking the talk, you're recognizing the patterns as you walk along, because you're testing them.
That's right. That's
You know?
exactly right. And
And
knowing that makes all the difference. And that the word judgment has a bad rap, because really what I'm just seeing is I'm seeing what isn't working for you. And but I know if someone's not ready for me, they're not ready for me, because I'm going to go all in. You know, I'm a finely honed projector now, in the sense that you have to want that kind of expansion. You're going to have to want that kind of change, that kind of catalyst.
Exactly.
And if you don't, you don't.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's no different than, you know, the closed and repelling aura of a manifestor. People have this negative connotation. Well, once you understand how it actually operates, there's no more negative connotation. And what I love is that, you know, the creator of this system, Ra Uruhu, because I definitely did not create this system. I am just a conveyor of it.
Right.
His, you know, when he wrote down all of this information, when it came through him, there's a lot of encryption in here, a lot of encryption. And the whole point of it is to experience it so you can unravel the encryption.
Yes.
You know, I could talk to you all day long and give you the same language that he wrote down, but if you haven't experienced it, then guess what?
That's right.
The encryption goes nowhere.
That's right. And we just got a couple minutes, so I want you to, with some offerings you have. We just touched the tippiest top of the iceberg. We only have an hour. We need several days.
Years.
But tell us, you have an incredible body of work. Just give our listeners a little bit of an insight into what you have to offer.
So I actually just moved over to a new website where I have a couple online classes as well. What is in the works and should be up and running by next week is a membership where you can come, you can converse, you can get information, and you have access to me. And as well, there's going to be a 12-week program where we drop into the prosperity by design, where we see the wealth,
right,
and use that wealth code, that God code that you're meant to be. We're on the material plane. We're meant to make money.
Right. And what's your website?
It is www.powerofself.ca.
Perfect, because we're Canadians.
Yes.
So that we got the CA.
Yes.
And so absolutely. And also I know you have videos on Facebook. You can join your Facebook page.
Yeah. And I have a YouTube channel as well.
Perfect.
And as a thank you for everybody being here, there is going to be a link to a PDF so that you can see the simplified application of the human design system.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, this has been incredible, and a great conversation about our consciousness and our friends and whatnot. Yes. And I'm just so grateful that you came and had this conversation with me. And I wish we could go even longer, but here we are in the world of timing. And so thank you so much for being my guest. We could probably have you on again for sure, and keep going for sure.
Awesome.
That would be fun.
Yes.
And just to let you know that I am here on Transformation Talk Radio every first and third Friday of the month at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And in my next show, I won't be having a guest, actually. I had several requests for people to say, Tanis, could you just talk to us? We want you to talk about stuff that you do. So I am bowing to my peers and saying, of course, I will talk to you with me, and take callers and whatnot, and maybe do a bit of an oracle with the book. So that will be on Friday, February the 21st, 2020. And also, always remember, if you don't decide who you are in the experience will decide who you are every time. So give yourself permission to know yourself deep down. Embrace your human design, help yourself define yourself, refine all that knowing. Thanks again, Leann.
Thank you, Tanis.
All right.
So appreciate it.
You bet. See you on the 21st, everyone.
Thank you.